last time on Talora Tales. The Ember 4, which I guess are now the Ember 3 temporarily, returned to Messidore with the body or the remains of Svenjamin in tow. As they arrive back home, they are also escorted, I suppose, by Svenjamin's brother Primarch, who had come to Messidore in search of his brother and potentially rescuing or assisting him from the plight that he had fallen into. As the party return to Messidore and their home, there is a pyre, a funeral prepared for Svenjamin the Dragonkind, where Captain Kirith and Camus and Ayla and a lot of the other friends of the party came to attend and stand vigil as their friend is sent up above in hopes of ascending, or I guess if you ask Sven, in hopes of descending. But the funeral is seen through various interactions and relationships are tested and poked away at. The group has a team meeting, a powwow of sorts, which goes about as well as I guess I should have expected it to go, where a bit of secrecy and espionage is exposed, some honest and raw emotions from our lovers are laid bare, and the Ember Boar is again settled into its somewhat tedious state. Primarch, the brother of Svenjamin, has found his own accommodations within the city following his brother's demise. The party somewhat unaware of what he is currently doing as they go about their own business. Thomas, who had received a somewhat clumsy insult from Ava, has found himself somewhat tagged along to Ava, being apologized to and then persuaded to begin searching for tiefling lore, which is always a easy hook to get Thomas interested in anything. That leaves Braynoon and Quinn, the two remaining Ember 4 of the Ember Boar, to have a meeting with Captain Kirith. I'm assuming, or I guess it's somewhat obvious to both going to the meeting, that you are requesting Quinn to have access to the files for Dane/Adun Mornall's butchering or criminal charges. So that is the whole purpose of this meeting, correct?
Yeah, I think so for the most part.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, I'm assuming Quinn has been caught up as much as it can without divulging what you know?
Yeah. So, like, basically what I said during the powwow is what Quinn knows, and that I would like to bring him in, but I need to talk with Kirith first before that happens.
Okay. So as you all arrive at you two, I'll have to get used to our small numbers today. As you two arrive at the Green Hood HQ, wow, Nathan is, wonderful. As you enter into the main lobby, thank you. You would spot the somewhat striking and unmistakable image of Primarch kind of sat on one of the, I guess, chairs or benches that are kind of left out for people to wait and linger in when looking for some sort of answer or response from the Green Hoods within the building. Whether or not you all choose to interact is up to you, but Primarch, you have kind of been a frequent flyer within the HQ's halls. Captain Kirith has taken a fair amount of, not special interest in you, but just kind of indulging in a bit of kinship, because dragonkinds are somewhat rare and infrequent out here in the edge of Renathosi. So the past couple days, you've had several different messages or messengers sent to you to have you then meet with Captain Kirith, and today is one of those days where you've been kind of called to wait, and now you are waiting as you do. So with the party, I guess the two gentlemen left of our party choose to interact, or would you go up to your meeting instead?
But yeah, noticing them, Primarch would stand up and give them a wave and a good day, gentlemen.
Welcome to you as well, Primarch. What brings you here today?
I find myself in meetings with the good captain. Admittedly, we Dragonkind do enjoy our fair bit of gossip amongst the homeland. Always good to relay to those who have not seen it in a while.
Point of note, just so I know, is
Mhm.
our meeting with Kirith something that was scheduled, or are we just hoping to get in to see him?
Kind of up to you. I was going off the assumption that you sent some sort of message ahead and then
Okay.
received a message in return. So,
Yeah, that sounds like something Braynoon would do.
yeah.
We've got a meeting with Kirith on the books today. Discuss some matters regarding something I've been looking into.
Well, if you need any assistance, please feel free to ask. I find myself somewhat listless.
If you don't mind my asking, what brought you to Missadori in the first place? I assume it was your brother, but
Yes, I feared, had gotten himself into something he could not get out of. Unfortunately, my fears were founded in the truth. But, barring that, I suppose I wait to break the news to the family. I admit it is not a task I look forward to.
I can appreciate that. I'm not sure it arrived to him yet. I've written one message to your father regarding Svenjamin. If you'd like, I can send some words along with you or provide something for you.
I'm sure he would appreciate it.
I'll get to it as soon as I can.
Well, I don't recommend expecting haste from the folks at the front desk.
Well, I'll see what I can do. And I'll just kind of shuffle over to the front desk and Braynoon drew Renath from the Ember Boar to meet with Captain Kirith.
The somewhat younger, potentially novice Green Hood manning the desk, who just seems overjoyed at the position he's been placed in, kind of gives you a very empty smile, and yes, he's expecting you. You know the way, yes?
And I'll give him a nod and look back to Primarch and Quinn. Seems we can mark our way there. Primarch, would you like to join us?
I thank you. Certainly.
It's better than sitting here doing nothing, I suppose.
I was perhaps half an hour from breaking the chairs and rebuilding them. I am not a fan of the general green color. Kind of a little bit of wisps of smoke come out of his nostrils with that one.
So, as you all depart the main lobby and make your way deeper into the HQ and then up one of the towers, which is where Captain Kirith's office is settled in, you would find that the door is open when you do arrive. The kind of modest space revealed to you. Captain Kirith sat behind his desk. I need to get better at doing this, but let me grab his art. Ta-da. Sat behind his desk again, seeming to have been expecting you all to arrive. There have been two chairs kind of preemptively placed in front of his desk, and then noticeably there is a third chair kind of back against the far wall that has certainly been added since last time you were here. So that would be the scene that you were entering into, I suppose.
Primarch will take that back chair.
It's just to kind of set the stage a bit. In my missive to Kirith, I almost said Primarch. That would have been weird. I would have
Getting a
mentioned
promotion today.
I would have mentioned kind of my intention for wanting to meet with him, and so that way he's not just blindsided by things. Good day to you, Kirith. How are you doing?
Good as any day, I suppose. Lovely day behind my desk. It is the most rewarding of work.
I hope you don't mind. We found Primarch waiting down in the lobby. Decided to bring him up with us.
Well, if you had the Inferno one with you, I'd make some jest about divination. I was going to bring Primarch in after we had sat for a while, so I guess that saves us all some time.
Also, kind of once everybody was in, I would have closed the door behind us and then taken a seat at the desk. And this is like, Brainerd's definitely trying to cover it, but he is uncomfortable in the situation that he's currently in, given that he had previously given his oath that, hey, this was just gonna be between me and you, Kirith, and now I'm like, hey, it's been a couple weeks, and now I want to change the deal. So he's definitely concerned about the potential outcome. But so as I explained in my letter to you the other day, I've basically reached a point in the investigation we previously discussed that I've gotten as far as I can on my own, and I'd like to involve Quinn and in the effort of trying to find some more up-to-date information regarding the parties involved. I give you my word that I've yet to give him any information that I've learned at this point, though he does know what I'm investigating.
I had my suspicions when tasking a dwarf. You are very stubborn people, very respectable, but stubborn. That when you reached your limits, that something of this sort would arise. He would then turn his attention over to Quinn, kind of nod his head down at you. May I ask your intention of getting involved?
I'm a little fuzzy on what I already, like what I know and what I don't know.
So the very long story short is he told the entire party basically what had happened, that Adun, Ava's father, used to be known as Dane. He used to be a member of the Green Hoods, and about 20 or so years ago, there was an event where his wife was kidnapped. There was issues there. Eventually, Dane took it upon himself to exact revenge and try and find his wife, which led to the butchering of many members of supposedly whatever criminal element he was pursuing. After he turned himself in, not finding his wife or the individual supposedly responsible for it, the authorities let him slip and he disappeared, then supposedly re-finding himself as Adun over in Yevaloon with Ava, his daughter. There was a internal investigation following that by the Venoir family, basically knowing that the Green Hoods did some shenanigans to free one of their own. I think that's about the extent of what was publicly offered to you, versus then anything beyond that is what Brandon is seeing.
And the fact that Ava knows nothing about any of this.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that Ava deserves better. And I don't have anything else to do.
That's the spirit. I don't think that I am overstating it when I divulge my suspicions about you, Quinn. I am not fully unaware of your previous occupation, and that is precisely why I have invited Primarch here today. That is my one condition, as he turns back to you, Braynoon. Though it may seem a little unorthodox, this is an area in which the Green Hoods cannot delve for various means. I will allow you to leverage the abilities of Quinn as long as someone I trust goes along with you.
I have no issue with that.
I don't either, but what is it that you think I'm going to do? This is not an official investigation. I'm not sure what you're afraid of.
I think one of the lengthier conversations that we have had, sir, was my concern about you leaving dead bodies out in the open for the public to see, in which you somewhat disregarded my concern. So I am trying to avoid a similar situation.
I didn't kill those people, so I guess you're just mad at me for not cleaning up the mess. But be that as it may, I don't intend to get into any fights with anybody in the course of this investigation. It's been a long time.
That is what I like to hear, but I need some assurances outside of your word due to the fragility of the situation. Primarch, I'm assuming you have no issue with this?
To be honest, Captain Kirith, I am somewhat insulted you do not bring this request with a nice bottle of wine.
I'm
But
all
no,
out of bribes.
I am... No, well, in the Elven continent, I am not surprised. No complaints. Gentlemen, I am happy to play public relations, if you will. Anything to undo some of the damage my brother may have done for the image of my kind.
And as Quinn, you have made clear, this is not any sort of authorized Green Hood activity, so please do not attempt to wield that in any way.
The day I start name dropping the Green Hoods is the day I retire.
Then I hope your retirement is far, far away. Well, I do have more information for you, though I'm sure you will bring your new associates down to the records room. There's some sensitive information that I think is perhaps a bit more useful now that you're more involved than you were previously.
Is this new information that's come to light recently, or something that was withheld from me previously?
This is information that has been left off of official records due to sensitivity and various requests from the Venoir investigation. This is coming directly from me to you, and I will hope that it does not find any other ears outside of this room.
My original oath still stands with you, and I believe Quinn is capable of keeping secrets, and, well, I believe you already trust Primarch, so...
Dane's handler, I suppose is what you would call her. Her name is Shayla Anacron. She has been used more or less as the scapegoat, I suppose, for all that has occurred. We have been somewhat cut off of communication with her, despite her previously being one of ours, and she has been since asked very politely to retire. She resides now in Old Town, where I assume that various people are looking in on her. There is perhaps information there that we no longer have access to that you all might be interested in.
Is there, in the interest of not revealing our hand, a reason that we might have for visiting this Miss Anacrin?
Cannot say that I am fully up to date with her situation. All that I know is that she lives in a rather modest apartment. She is still paid her pension from her retirement, and she does not do much else.
Well, that's definitely helpful. If there's nothing else, do you mind if I take these two downstairs and bring them up to speed on what I know?
Feel free. You have my full authorization. Though I would not go around flaunting your access to just anybody.
I assume that the access is still granted to me and not to Quinn. He'll be going in as my guest and not as someone authorized himself.
Captain Kirith kind of like looks over at Quinn, his eyes kind of getting a bit shrewd. Sir, you mentioned Ava needing or deserving better, is that correct?
Right?
She currently is under the charge of the Ember Guild.
Through one person or another's auspice.
So can I take that to mean that you believe that she deserves better than her current situation?
Yeah.
Well, finally, I think we agree on something. I feel that it is acceptable for you to have access as well, though it is somewhat surface level, I suppose. All right.
Well, thank you for your time, Kareth. We shall update you if we reach a point where our authority ends and yours begins.
I do appreciate that, and do avoid murder.
I usually do.
Well, good luck.
Kirith, we shall continue our previous discussions at a later time then.
Yes. And I do trust that you will come and find me in case your new acquaintances get too far out of hand.
Honor to the clan. Thank you.
All right.
We get up and leave. So yeah, let me pull up my notes so I remember what I need to share.
So let me quickly, the name that was given to you so that it is all spelled correctly is Shayla Anacrin, or Shayla, I guess I can pronounce either way. Shela, Shela, I can't speak today. Inacren.
Perfect. All right. Notes. Okay, so yeah, basically Brandon would take you both down to the records room that he had most previously been working out of, and would show you the records, but in the interest of time, I'll just kind of go through the notes that I took based on my previous investigation. So at the time, so all of this happened pre-Glade Agreement. It was 20-ish years back.
Oh, if you want an exact date, it's
Oh yeah,
116 CA was the actual year that it occurred, and it occurred between the time frame of September and the end of November.
Cool. So yeah, that information on Dane. He was at the time a decorated officer, was looking to move out of field work, and basically was just looking to wrap up one final case. That was the case of Rupert Numbers, who was I didn't actually write this down. He was basically like a dwarven bookie accountant for like shady numbers guy.
Mhm.
While he was undercover, his cover was blown. No one really knows how. As a result of that, Dane's wife was kidnapped. Ava would have been like 15, 16 at the time. The kidnappers made demands. However, the Green Hoods don't negotiate, and so nothing came of that. That's where I think the information we were told originally of like the pieces started getting sent back. And so Dane kind of went on his vengeance rampage. Reports mentioned that locals started to refer to Dane as the Butcher of the Bay. Gruesome images in the reports. Men were held up in the Dwarven Quarter, eviscerated, left out for display. Dane actually turned himself in. There was no capture of Rupert Numbers. His wife was never found. And then, as was explained, basically he escaped. No one really knows how. And then he disappeared. Venoir family investigated the internal corruption after his escape. And then there's no mention of Rupert Numbers in anything since then. And so that's kind of the unanswered question that Braynoon has been trying to find, is what happened to this guy, what happened to his wife, to Dane's wife, not to, and basically close out the case so that way it doesn't get left hanging over Ava's head.
Some information that probably would be there that I didn't give you initially is the wife's name is Lucia, Lusha. So that would be included. Other stuff that would probably be more detailed is Dane basically is, I guess, like off the board or unknown location for 3 or 4 days in the Dwarven Quarter, which is when the butchering took place. So it wasn't like he went out in an afternoon and did it and then came back. This was several days of stuff. That's probably, yeah, all the extra information that wasn't already covered. Oh, I guess another thing, sorry. He was undercover probably for about 2 to 3 months. It's kind of a rough time frame of him actually trying to get involved and solve whatever actual issue he was going after.
And if I recall right, Rupert Numbers was a target, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's who he was trying to get.
Basically, it was like bagging some sort of almost like exotic creature. It was like a very infamous criminal that everyone kind of knew about, but no one could get anything on. So he kind of saw it as his last hurrah, as a general understanding.
Mm-hmm. So at this point, my hope was to go and see if we could learn anything in the Dwarven Quarter, though it also seems like perhaps a conversation with this Shayla and Akron would be perhaps give us more direction than we'd have.
It does seem like straightforward questions should reveal most of what you're looking for.
I appreciate the optimism.
It's probably also fair to say that Captain Kirk will have given you some sort of address for Shayla, so that you're not just wandering around.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So should we go? I'm assuming Shayla was an elf. That's...
Yeah, I mean,
okay.
As far as you understand, yeah.
That's I see. Because we're currently in Old Town, right? That's where the Green Hood. Yeah. So,
yeah.
Perhaps we visit Miss Anacron and then make our way into the Dwarven Quarter.
Please, by your leave.
Quinn, I think you know the city better than either of us, if you don't mind leading the way.
As long as I'm authorized.
So Quinn, quick point of order. You did mention you arrived in Messidore, I think it was like a handful of days before the group actually met up before their initial contract at the Ember Boar. And one of the things you went on your way to do was to try and see who the movers and the shakers were, different, criminal elements and the big leagues and that kind of thing. So following that, give me probably a combination of a history check and an insight check.
You want one than the other?
Yeah.
So history is going to be 12, and insight is going to be 24.
Okay. So one of the things like, there's a lot of information that, Quinn kind of just passively absorbed, going about this general practice. There is a fair amount of, maybe not chatter or gossip, but just like alluded understanding of Rupert numbers and kind of the vacuum that was somewhat left after his sudden disappearance. It wasn't like he was some top boss calling the shots and doing all these like aggressive movements, but he was involved in a lot of different criminal enterprises, for lack of a better term. He seemed to have basically an involvement with anyone who was anybody, who was anything in the city. So following his sudden disappearance, there's a lot of different stories or ideas or people or events that you would kind of suspect would happen after something like that. People covering their tracks, people disappearing, businesses being opened or shut down or closed or out of business for various reasons. And there's lots of like picking up the pieces following this. One of the more prominent bits of information that probably stands out to you being kind of exposed to all this information and finally being brought into the fold is there is I guess a gambling den is what you might call it, or some sort of casino type business called the Butcher's Bet, which I think is probably fair enough for you to either know or figure out with context clues, is actually built on top of one of the buildings that the butchering took place in, where it gets its namesake from, and is kind of somewhat centered around that event. You would know that it is owned by a name referred to as Shrimp Pops, who was one of the many who sprung up after the disappearance of Numbers. So that's just kind of vague stuff tickling the back of Quinn's mind.
And I'll clue the whole gang in here.
Mm-hmm.
Appreciate that. Also, I hope you know that I fully trust you, though I'm sure you know why why Kirith does not.
It's an occupational hazard. I don't actually care.
I'm not sure I believe you, but I understand.
It's funny to me that the captain doesn't realize that him knowing my previous employment is itself an olive branch.
I'll kind of glance at Primarch as I say this before looking back. When those that live the entirety of their life in the light don't understand the things that take place in the shadow.
And we are better for it.
Well, it's a dirty job, but somebody's got to do it.
Well, it usually takes a special type of person. And you've made it this far, and that says something about who you are.
So we are to subjugate this den of iniquity, then?
Well, kind of going like, is this a illegitimate gambling den, or is it just like a casino that has some criminality elements to it?
It's very much legal in the sense of like a legitimate business, but it is probably understood by most everybody that while it is legal, there is probably some attachment to some other issue or illegal issue.
As Kirith was clear about, we are not a police force. We're merely an investigative unit that is gathering more information. So we can report back anything we find to Kirith, and he can take any action with that the Green Hoods deem necessary, but we are to leave it as we found it.
So be it.
So, to Miss Anacron first, though.
So, if the party heads directly that way, having her meeting at around noon, you'd probably get to her I guess, loft apartment. What's the, this is the term that I don't know off the top of my head. Like an apartment that's above a business. It's called something.
Townhouse? No.
Whatever that's called, because I think there's a term,
Not
but I
a
can't
studio,
remember.
is it?
It's not a studio. Anyway, you know what I'm referring to.
Yeah,
it works.
whatever.
That would be the situation that you find. She appears to live above a kind of somewhat Bosch-looking boutique / like brunch-ish kind of place, where there is a kind of on a fenced-off exterior dining area that several rather not wealthy, but middle-class patrons are currently eating and enjoying their conversation at. So there's a little like side staircase that leads up into the apartment above, or the apartments above. So that would be the building that you are approaching.
Well, and just as a reminder to myself, Old Town is kind of where the money lives in Messidori, correct? Yeah.
Yeah, Old Town is where like the initial city was built and developed, and so kind of just naturally, as the city spreads, the center has remained the kind of uppity up part. It's almost like old school, like Massachusetts of some sort, like those historic buildings that are super expensive but are built from like the 1600s.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I suppose will approach, and my intention is to go up to the apartment. So if no one stops us, then that's where we'll go. But
as you start making your way up it's an exterior staircase that then leads to a door, and then when you open the door, there's this kind of lengthy hallway, and it appears that there are several apartments kind of on the right-hand side, all sectioned off with different numbers on the door. At the end of the hallway, it's probably some sort of like live-in management office space, like a little window counter thing situation set up at the end. There's a somewhat disgruntled-looking dwarf behind it who peers at you as you enter. He's like, "Who are you visiting?"
We are here to meet with Miss Anacron.
Number 3. Knock loudly.
Thank
She's hard of hearing.
Very well. I will walk over to number 3 and knock, not loudly, but just as I would normally. But...
So after several moments, where did I stick you? There you are. You would hear footsteps approaching the door, and then after a few moments of assumedly her listening or waiting or something behind the other side of this portal, she would creak the door open and kind of peer out through one eye. You would very much see kind of aged elven features. She has this stark white hair. It is pretty clear and obvious that this is a rather old elf, and for them that's 200 years plus, somewhere in that range. She would look down at you, a little bit of confusion in her eyes, obviously not expecting visitors or a dwarven visitor. She would eventually start opening the door a little more, see the others gathered with you, and... Yes?
My apologies for our disruption. My name is Brenu Durunath. These are my companions, Quinlan and Primarch. If you don't mind, I was hoping I could ask you a few questions of events that took place a while ago in regards to the parentage of one Ava Mornell.
Give me an insight check.
Insight is non-natural 20.
Okay. As you are speaking, there's almost this like body posture that you begin to read, like the door starts to close a little bit, she begins to kind of shrink away as it's more and more obvious what you might eventually allude to, until you mention Ava. And you see all of it kind of pause, you see this little like recognition flicker across her eyes. She looks over everybody once more, down back at you. Who sent you?
We received your name from Captain Kirith, but we were sent by our own motivations to answer questions for one little girl. Questions she doesn't know, but deserves answers to.
Where is her father?
Dead. Some few weeks past, due to the events of a kobold attack on Yevaloon.
Come in, I'm making tea. And she would
Thank
turn
you.
and leave the door open for you.
I would follow, making sure that the door closes securely behind us.
Mm-hmm. So you would be brought into, again, a very, especially for Old Town, modest setting. It's perhaps an apartment of only 2 or 3 rooms, the kitchen being kind of adjoined to the more open living space. She would gesture to some couches and, I guess, like recliners and whatnot, or just lounging chairs that are clearly not well worn, that don't seem to have a lot of visitors on them. But she would have you all kind of take place as she goes over to the kitchen, begins fussing with beginning a pot of tea, kind of taking this time to begin shifting her own, I guess, energy or awareness, as she was not particularly ready for this whole encounter. So after several minutes, yeah.
In that time that she's preparing her tea, Primarch would stroke his sigil and mutter under his breath, by the glory of Nosaruk, let none hide from my eyes. And cast his divine sense just to make sure there's nothing nefarious hidden within the apartment.
Okay. As you do reach out with your divine ability, you would not spot anything that catches your eye or causes you alarm. It does appear to be a well lived in apartment of an elderly woman, various knickknacks and, I don't know, small comforts. There's a lot of plants. That's about it. Nothing that would, make you on edge. But eventually she would set the kettle down, kind of turn back around, still keeping the distance of like the kitchen and the living space between all of you before looking over the group. So, Paul Dane is dead, you say?
Yes. Leaving his daughter orphaned of, from what we understand, both parents.
And, Captain Kira sent you?
He did. I'm more than happy to tell you the tale of how we've ended up here, and the forgetting words, an effort to allow you to understand our motivations and elicit your aid.
How is, young Ava?
Headstrong, lively, as well as one can be, given she watched her father die.
Kind of turns back around to the kettle and just takes a moment. She would linger in the kitchen, again, not making any move to turn back around to you until eventually the kettle does whistle and she starts pouring out cups, eventually returning back to the small sitting area, setting down a tray for all of you to partake in, and then sitting in the chair that is probably best guess the chair that she usually uses. looking you all over. All right, well, tell me what you know, and I'll tell you what I know.
In the interest of time, so I kind of introduce who we are as Quinlan and I as members of the Ember Boar Mercenary Guild or Adventure Guild. We accepted a job to deal with some kobold account, blah blah blah, recount. And then basically explain how Ava has tied herself to us, has come back, the events of Passover that led to us meeting with Kirith, and kind of getting a better understanding of who Ava's father was. And then would explain how, in an attempt to give Ava the life she deserves, I picked up the investigation into the events of the butcher incident to find answers, as Kirith had concern that Ava might go off, blah, blah, blah. But would explain everything leading to today, and Kirith giving us her name.
Okay. She would listen very intently, and you would see a bit of what you would assume to be her previous, I guess, insight returning to her, being an operative or a handler or an agent of the Green Hoods in some sort of what you can assume again to be a higher class or tier, having been above Dane, who himself was already somewhat up the ranks. So she listens very carefully, not really missing any details, and piecing together the story that you were offering and making sure there are any gaps or holes or strange ambiguities that don't make sense. But eventually, as it all kind of concludes, she would... I told Dane he'd have to change his name. That stubborn bastard. Well, I don't know how open I can be with you about some of the events following, but I can offer up the events leading up to it. I know that at least that much is safe. And she starts like looking around her apartment with a bit of suspicion, clearly knowing or understanding that while you all are alone and enjoying a cup of tea, it's not entirely safe.
If I understand your words correctly, then you assisted him in escaping.
I can tell that you're in charge of the secrecy of your group, then.
In truth, we are not accurately affiliated. I am here as a favor to the good captain. But if you would be so kind as to elaborate, you told him he would need to change his name.
Yes, well, I assume there's not a lot of point of beating around the bush. The Venoir family saw it fit that I fell with the crimes of allowing Dane to escape, which I will accept readily, I suppose. But yes, I was his handler, both in his time as a Green Hood and I guess as his short time, stupid bastard, outside of the Green Hoods. When I moved him out of Messidore, I told him to leave Runathosi and change his name and start a new life with his young daughter, which, as usual, did not follow my advice.
Any idea why he wouldn't?
Knowing our Dane, he probably had some delusion of returning and finishing what he started.
while the information around Dane will be good to explain to Ava once we hopefully have resolved all this. What's more pressing for me is tying up the loose ends of Rupert Numbers and the events that took place some 20 years ago.
Yes, I'll tell you the tale, and feel free to interrupt me if I ramble. I don't have much company, so getting lost in the weeds is somewhat nice sometimes. Anyway, Dane was very up and coming. I had been in charge of handling him for it was more or less a year, I think, before he set his eyes upon Numbers, which I warned him would be challenging, but Dane could not be persuaded otherwise, so after Numbers we went, which, to be fair, was a properly high mark. There was, he was involved in drug smuggling and fencing stolen art pieces and cooking books for various individuals. He is be quite the catch and would look very well mounted on the wall of any decorated greenhood. So we set up his cover. I made sure to look in on his wife and child. We made sure that his inclusion in Numbers affiliates was clean. Everything was going according to plan. He did his weekly check-ins, was alluding that progress was being made no sign or signal of being discovered or pulled out. Then, one afternoon, doing my routines, checking in on all of my various responsibilities, I returned to their home and I found the door broken down, his wife was missing, and his daughter was left in her crib. Obviously, that was quite alarming, so I collected young Ava. I went to my superiors, we pulled Dane out, and I imagine you have gathered the rest, the messages that they saw fit to send, the inaction coming from our authority, and Dane was kept under watch because his intentions were rather clear. He then slipped his tail, found his way to the Dwarven Quarter, and I imagine you know the majority of the story there as well.
I've read the reports and informed the others. Is there any information on how his cover was blown? How his wife was located? Identified?
I was allowed to debrief Dane very briefly before the Venoirs came swooping in, first because of their interests and then because of their internal investigation, but with the small amount of conversation I had with Dane, he was somewhat caught off guard, and his cover had been blown. There was no indication that he had let slip anything or blown whatever story he had going. It caught him off guard just as much as it did us. My suspicion is it must have been someone who knew. But that is a very short list of people, and not a lot of them I would pin on doing something so foul. Either that, or someone outside of my knowledge from Dane's past, though his past is as clean as I could find. Lots of questions and not lots of answers, which is frustrating in my line of work.
You say this would be a short list. How short?
Well, since I am no longer actively in the field, I see no issue in divulging this. Whenever one of our undercover agents is sent out, their appearance is altered so that they are not recognized. We give them a new identity, which checks out as well as anybody could pursue. And the only ones who know their true identity is usually their loved ones, their handler, and the superior officer above me, which at the time was Captain Kirith. Well, Captain now.
Then there would have been someone above Kirith.
They are aware of our agents, but they are not privy to details.
Forgive me, I'm coming from a military background, so my assumptions may be wrong. How much written documentation is taken in these sorts of events while individuals are actively undercover, and who might have access to those documents?
For the sake of trying to keep everything as secure as possible, we don't exactly keep ledgers of all of our ongoing communication with those that are undercover, though all of the logs and transcriptions of Dane after he turned himself in would be available, if not for the Venois having their investigation and removing information that they saw fit.
I'm going to look around the room a little bit while kind of I formulate how I'm going to say this. Also, just game knowledge, world's knowledge. What is the known connection between the Venoir family and the Green Hoods?
So the reason that the Venoirs are kind of the direct individuals or family involved in this is they are the ruling representatives of Messidore. They have been for the last 60 years or so. And so if there is any sort of like governmental or top-down investigation or interference, it would be from them. That's like their expected responsibility. They're the ones who put forward a representative for the Evasal Council as a whole. And they kind of stand above the four other families until another election process takes place and they're either voted in or voted out. So that's why they specifically were involved in the investigation, is it's their both political and financial responsibility to keep the city and therefore the Green Hoods in check.
Again, forgive me, I'm not a native to this side of the continent. How often in situations like this does the family in charge of things involve themselves in these sorts of investigations?
Usually it's saving face or trying to win some popular votes upcoming elections. I've been around the block every now and then, especially during Passover. Oh, thank the thread that's over. They'll do frivolous checks or investigations or what have you, but I feel that the issue with Dane was more called for. It was a very public and very troubling situation. The common folk were not too pleased with the Green Hoods. There was a great deal of friction following Dane's disappearance. So for what it's worth, it was probably smart of them to show that they were stepping in. Though I'm sure it also did earn them some favors.
Understanding that this is purely hearsay, throwing out the investigations, throwing out the information, what were your feelings when this all happened? What were your gut thoughts and your reactions? What were the names that came up to your mind as events took place?
Something that never sit right with me amongst the other things that never sit right with me. Rupert Numbers was a very interesting case, I suppose you can say. Well, he was very sought after and certainly had a fair share of crimes under his belt that we could prosecute him to the end of his life for. He was not known to be violent or vicious or ruthful. It was somewhat out of character for him to begin sending pieces, being direct and personal. That was not his usual process, I suppose. He, as far as reports are concerned, is very cold and apathetic.
And according to the reports I've read, he essentially disappeared after the events that took place, correct?
Yes. Whether it was before Dane found himself let loose on the Dwarven Quarter, or perhaps because of that, Numbers has not been seen since, and we have not heard of his involvement in anything else besides that, but my information could be perhaps outdated. I have not been employed for quite some time.
To clarify, Dane admitted to the butchery.
Yes.
According to the reports, he turned himself in.
It's quite the sight. If I am to believe all rumors, there is a rather famous painting of the Green Hood drenched in red that now hangs up in the museum that I will not go and visit.
And
And so,
oh, go ahead.
so Dane was on to Numbers, but Numbers had his fingers in quite a few pies, as it were. If he was not normally so vicious, was there one maybe he was working with that was?
That is, I suppose, where you're trying to find the ruthless murderer in the proverbial haystack. After everything occurred, and again, I only know this through being somewhat informed, Green Hoods went after the known associates, tried to piece together any sort of understanding of what happened. Of course, the direct investigation of Numbers was cut off due to the Venoirs, and they have their own investigatory team, I suppose. So, if there was one that stood out, it was not identified by the Green Hoods at the very least.
Did Dan have any enemies or any unfortunate encounters before this investigation started, before he went undercover?
I wish she did, because then at least I could point the finger at somebody, but besides being a little bit uppity with those above him, there was no one that he was directly at odds with, no one that I know of that he slighted or scorned or insulted or belittled. He enjoyed his work. He enjoyed his family. And for all accounts, was a decent man.
You had the ability to speak with Dane when he turned himself in, am I correct?
Yes.
A brief conversation. Is there anything he revealed that he might have learned in his vigilante actions that would be of note?
This is quite a bit of speculation, but if I believe Dane, and I am often to do so, he claimed something somewhat strange. The men, or I guess more aptly the creatures that he dispatched, were all the known associates that he had come to know through his work, through his undercover work, all connected to numbers one way or the other, either business partners or muscle or debt collectors or what have you. He thoroughly questioned all of them, and none of them could point him in any direction towards numbers, though he understood that they would know something, but he truly did believe them that they did not know. And though it was something I could not look into at the time, and would certainly be quite the incredible task if it was true, he said or claimed that their memories had been adjusted or altered or wiped, so that no amount of persuasion could shake loose any information.
And did anyone ever perform any tests to see if his mind had been altered?
I don't quite know. He was within the Green Hood's authority for several days before he found his way free, and that's all we know.
Given that our resident wizard isn't here, can I make an attempt at like an Arcana check just to... I'm not looking to identify the specific spell, but more the
Your
level
grasp
of
yeah.
right, the level of power required to wield that sort of magic.
Yep.
I got a 16 on Arcana.
Okay. So you are, mainly familiar with like kind of the staples of a lot of the arcane abilities. Kind of, I guess, the most mechanical and somewhat in-universe spell or force that you can point to is like modify memory, but that is severely limited in the scope of what this should or needed to be. So if what Dane and Sheila is now referring to is true, it would have been a incredibly either expensive or thorough or incredibly tedious task to see through. And it would require someone quite influential or powerful, both either in economic means or magical might. So it's one of those things where you hear about it and you're like, oh yeah, uh-huh. So,
right, it's like a boogeyman type
Yeah.
tale. It's right. Not being overly familiar with that sort of magic, I do have a wee understanding of it. Just to offer a potential other avenue, was there ever a reported sighting of numbers?
Well, there's the times that Danes would account for where he was, and his testimony of his comings and goings, but one of the reasons that we put Dane in is having regular Green Hoods get eyes on him was proving difficult.
So it's confirmed that he existed. He wasn't some sort of enigma that
Yes, and
was used.
we have a
Okay.
description of him that fits and that checks out and that Dane confirmed, though that description has now not been seen since.
Understanding that your professional career ended around the same time, I suspect that your personal curiosity led you to keep ears on things for a while.
Is that an elf joke?
I'm not our guild master. I don't tend to make jokes about people's races.
Ah,
Are there any names that came up after Number's disappearance that stuck out to you most?
the one I potentially might be suspicious of. There is an elven gentleman used to run, what would you call them, pop-up games, gambling cards, dice, that supposedly worked for Numbers, and after Numbers disappeared, he had enough wealth to buy his own business, start his own racket, I suppose. That would be my first clue. I think he goes by some ridiculous name, Shrimp or Pops, something of the sort.
Turns out he's already on our list of places to visit. If there is, I don't want to waste your day.
Oh, please, I have literally nothing else to do.
If there's anything else you think of that you think could be of aid for us, feel free to visit the Emberbore Guild, and you can leave missive for us there. If you don't wish to visit due to individuals that might be there, that's currently where Ava is staying. Assuming we can bring an end to all this, would you be willing to meet with her? To tell her stories of the father she might not know?
I wonder if she would recognize me. And I don't know if that would be good or bad. She stayed with me during Dane's time with the Green Hoods, and then also found her way outside of Messidore. But she was very young. She's very loud. Just
That
wouldn't
hasn't
stop
changed.
screaming. I will think about it, but I don't know if it'd bring up a lot.
That's not always a bad thing.
Being secluded by plants is much easier.
It's a little boring.
I am old.
So am I.
Yes, you look like you're about to keel over.
You never know. And so you should enjoy the time you have. Well, thank you for the tea. If we do learn of anything or learn of something that we think you could be of assistance, we may visit again. We apologize if anything comes down because of this, but know that our intentions are good.
She would kind of like nod, and she'd reach down and start like collecting the cups. And yes, well, what are they gonna do? Fucking kill me. But if you all want the antidote for the poison, just come ask. And she'd start shuffling towards the kitchen.
I'm not concerned. But yeah, So, I mean, unless anybody else has any other questions.
Now, Primarch would just move a plant leaf out of his face and may the thread elevate you, good woman.
I'm about as elevated as I'm ever going to get, but thank you, sir.
Well, I can't speak for Primarch, but I could do a bit of gambling.
Primark, are you going to be able to... Are you going to be okay in our next stop?
As my favor to the good captain, I suppose. It shall be simple enough to focus on the drinks, or the ceiling, perhaps my boots. I cannot promise I shall stay my hand should anything exceptionally untoward happen, but...
Well, neither can I.
Just don't kill anyone. I don't want to have that conversation with Kirith again.
Well, if Primarch kills him, it's probably fine.
I am of a noble order. I assure you it would be fair and just. Execution, not mere murder.
See?
I suppose as long as we clean up after ourselves.
That too.
So to the Dwarven Quarter.
Yep. Murder is allowed as long as it's behind closed doors.
As long as there's no evidence.
So I will go ahead and showcase you all. That is where the Butcher's Bet is on the map, in case you are curious.
What a fucking, morbid name. Like, hey, you remember this, horrendous slaughter that happened a couple months over?
Disaster tourism.
Yeah.
But I'm assuming you guys head in that direction and then head inside unless otherwise.
Probably, using lingo from Quinn's line of work, we'd probably case the place first and identify any potential exits, entrances that we may need to make use of.
So the
Primarch will slip off to the privy for just a couple minutes.
Okay. So the actual building itself, to give you a little bit more context on some of the stuff that either would have been in the report or understood if you asked around, would kind of be common knowledge. The butchering happened in several different buildings, but this warehouse in particular was where kind of everything was vented all at once, because the general understanding of the chain of events is that Dane started calling for meetings or luring in his targets or the people that he was going after, and then killing them off, torturing them, filleting them, for lack of a better term. And then eventually, when he ran out of people, he then started using them as intimidation or threats or something of the sort, stringing them up, hanging them out windows, putting them on clotheslines. Very colorful imagery. So
was Dane using his cover to get started to lure people in, or was he using other methods?
They'll probably be outside of your knowledge.
Okay, that's fine.
You would know, or at least I guess you could probably again figure out that when he was undercover, he looked different, like he had a different physical appearance.
Right.
So when he went back to do this, he probably would have looked like Dane instead of whoever he was before that. So the actual warehouse that you guys are approaching now is kind of ground zero for the kind of bigger reveal. And it is since then, you know how larger warehouse buildings will be like one big tall room. The upper part of that building has been sectioned off, like the attic half of it, I suppose, and has clearly been somewhat done up and commercialized. There are signs and a very elegant and actually polished staircase leading up to the second level. There's lots of denizens kind of lingering around the outside that all look very much the gambling type, if that is a stereotype, I suppose. But the actual warehouse appears to be a still functioning warehouse seeming to retake its old usefulness after everything kind of occurred. But that would be the actual location you are approaching.
Okay. And what's the general foot traffic that we're seeing? Like, is understanding it's mid-afternoon at this point, like, how busy are they?
There's probably like maybe 5 people lingering outside, whether or not they're like part of the warehouse or the thing upstairs or just passing by or just standing around. There's, handfuls of people moving up and down the alleyways and roadways, like connecting the other buildings. It's not overly busy, but it's not dead either. It's just like what you would usually assume to be kind of the general traffic at around this time. There is no, I guess, like traffic up and down the stairs in the small amount of time that you're sitting there observing. It is, again, the middle of the afternoon, so anyone who's in there is probably going to be in there all day. So,
yeah. Kind of
And
looking... oh, go ahead.
Sorry. In an effort to not blow so much cover, Primarch is going to put his hood up so his golden ass isn't just like shining in the middle of the street. Throw that out there now.
Okay.
Yeah, in that same vein, I was going to recommend that we enter individually and not as a group, just because, no offense to Primarch, but he's going to seem out of place. Like, I'm going to seem out of place, but Primarch's going to make me not seem out of place, and so... But I'd kind of lean towards Quinn taking the lead on this, just because this is more in his line of work than mine.
So, what do I know about the protocol to get into this joint?
Besides, like, going in, probably not a ton of, like, the actual inner workings of everything. Give me another... God, there has to be more, like, defined skills, because, there's no, like, criminal element skill check. Roll me another history check. Roll with advantage.
I'll also note, because I didn't say it earlier, the only weapon I have on me is a hand axe.
Okay.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
gonna be,
probably.
14.
Okay. You don't know a ton of specifics about the Butcher's Bet. Again, as far as you're aware, it is a gambling den of sorts, where, card games and dice games are played. The only other bit of information that you could probably scratch out of your mind is Shrimp, or Pops, or however he's referred to by his various nicknames or aliases, is also, I would say, whispered about, but is pretty confidently secured in being a... what's the word I'm looking for? An acquirer of knowledge, a merchant of information, I suppose. One of the mantras, or I guess quotes, or bits of information you probably pick up or hear is that Shrimp never loses, kind of being the understanding of, even if he does lose, he gets something out of it, whether that is information or money or something. So.
All right, well, in we go.
So, Brandon mentioned you're entering one at a time, but is that the plan?
Works for me.
I think Primarch would go last.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd be fine with Quinn kind of going in and casing the place, and if he sees anything off, coming back out rather than... But kind of a, hey, if you haven't come back out in like 4 minutes, I'm going to follow after you.
Alright, we should be able to see that, correct, sir? Alright.
Yep.
So Quinn, as you go up the staircase, there's like a little 90-degree turn, and then like 5 or 6 more steps that lead into kind of like the slanted A-frame structure of this kind of upper half of the building. And as you were coming up the stairs, you were basically immediately met with what more or less is like a desk or a bar or a counter off to your right, as a dwarven gentleman is sat on a chair right in front of you. There's also one sat behind the desk to your right, both of them kind of registering you as you come up. The one at the desk would kind of lean over as you are ascending, kind of giving you a glance up and down and looking you over. He's like, "Welcome. No warrants, no weapons, you know."
Meaning I shouldn't have any warrants, or I shouldn't be serving any?
Both, but clever. Haven't heard that one before.
Oh, it's fine.
Bo?
And,
The dwarf at the end of the hall would kind of get out of his chair. He's like, "Arms out."
Yep, fair enough.
So you would allow him to frisk you?
Yeah.
All right. Would you attempt to conceal anything?
No. I think I can use an improvised weapon if something goes really south.
So what weapons would you have on you that they would check in for you?
A short bow, a rapier, and a pair of daggers.
Okay, yeah, so Bo would start collecting the items up on the counter, taking them from you, and eventually
And
kind of
arrows. Arrows count too.
patting you up and down, grabbing the one weird arrow, like, huh. But the
Careful, I don't know what that does.
sets it down very gingerly. The dwarf behind the desk would be like, "All right, name?"
It's Brooks.
"All right, Brooks. How much money are you going in with?"
That seems a little odd.
"We like to keep accountability. We wouldn't want anyone stealing from you."
Uh-huh. Okay, well. I'm not prepared for this. Does, I guess all of it.
How much would that be? Roughly.
I just tell, a couple hundred gold.
Can we use a more precise number than couple?
More than 2, less than 3.
250. Okay, that works. All right. Have you been here before, Master Brooks?
I have.
All right. Well, you know the drill then. Don't be an ass. Enjoy yourself.
Thanks.
And then Bo would step out of the way to let you pass. I will open that door. So yeah, you can feel free to move yourself around as you see fit. But as you enter into the main part of the area, you would see off to the southwest of the room where the ceiling begins to kind of like dip back down due to the A-frame. There is this kind of lowered, almost like conversational pit would be the general aesthetic. There is a clearly more setup situation or table off in the corner with this nice red carpet beneath it. I'm going to go ahead and move you so that, there we go, hit the whole room.
As I go by, I want to pickpocket a weapon off of Bo.
All right.
He's got to have one if he's an enforcer.
You want to give me a sleight of hand then?
Let's do it. How about a 21?
All right, Bo, this is your job.
Blackjack.
Okay.
It's appropriate.
So as you step by Bo, who does enforcers, perhaps not the right term, bouncers probably a bit more fitting. He isn't like strapped to the gills by any means, but he does have a little like wrist blade or not wrist, ankle dagger down by his boot that you can either, like, as you're tripping by him or stumbling or squeezing through the space, slip it out of its sheath and into your hand if you want.
Absolutely.
All right. So for all intents and purposes, you would have a dagger. However, you want to try and obscure that on your person.
Just sort of trip and then like, oh, sorry about that, Bo. Somebody needs to check the nails in this place.
I'm very wide.
Quick question for Quinn.
Mhm.
Are you wearing your guild badge?
I think at this point, I don't wear it unless we're on
Okay.
contract. It's just one more identifiable
Yep.
thing that I
That
don't
is
need.
why I was asking.
I was like, no, but I'm wearing my Green Hood fan shirt.
Green Hoods forever.
Yeah. Green Hood buddies. But yes, the general setting is there's a plethora of tables with a plethora of patrons all going about their day. Your entrance gets a little bit of notice. A few of the denizens would probably look up and glance in your direction. The gentleman far off to the southwest is currently kind of lounging back, not paying a ton of attention to, what's currently going on. There's no one actively at his table, so he's just kind of relaxing in his own little area. But it is a very comfortable space. It's decorated in a lot of rather expensive looking carpets and rugs and curtains and finery. The various smells of the alcoholic beverages you assume are tasteful and refined versus the kind of crude ale you might find in other places. So it's a very pleasant area to be in, and that would be what you enter into.
No ladies. Kind of a place is this?
Hey, Bo might be willing.
So, I think the surest way. All right, so I'll join this game, whatever it's a game of, just because it's so close to the VIP area. And for the time being, just act like any other patron.
As you approach the table, the dwarf that is set up there is playing some strange analogy of basically solitaire by himself. He's not doing any sort of betting or gambling at the moment, more just kind of passing the time. As you do approach, he is puffing pretty profusely on this rather thick pipe that he has, and as you get within his kind of peripheral vision, he'd look up and go, "Ah, England.
Brooks.
Pleasure. You, what you looking for?"
Just a warm-up game.
You ever heard of Mainmast?
Have I ever heard of Mainmast?
Yeah, you would affiliate it with a very common naval/dwarven dice game.
Sure.
Wonderful. We'll do a few rounds of that. You have money?
Some. Not enough.
Well, let's do some light stuff. I don't need any more bitching from my wife.
I hear you.
All right, we'll do 5 silver piece rounds. And he would go about setting up the game for you all as you settle in, I suppose. I guess Brandon, would you be the second person in?
Yep.
All right.
And just to note, I am wearing my guild badge, but
Okay. So, very similar situation that I described for Quinn as you were making your way up the stairs. The dwarf, again, leaning over with a little bit more of like, wow, and another one kind of look on his face, but he would look you up and down, see that you're a dwarf, be like, well, No warrants, no weapons, but welcome.
I would pull out the hand axe I've got on my belt and hold it out. Thank you. That's anything I should know? It's first time here. Forgive me.
Well, what's your name?
Brainun.
How much money do you have, Master Brainun?
I've got about 50 gold coming off the last job I had.
Well, I would recommend perhaps staying to some of the fringe tables, with pockets that thin.
Thank you.
But, Bo here is going to frisk you, if that is alright with you.
Alright.
Bo! Comes up and again, frisks you for any sort of weaponry or whatnot. He would spot your badge and kind of just like thumb over it a little bit, be like, no warrants.
None that I'm aware of.
Alright. And then he would wave you by, for lack of a better term, so you are now free to move about. And again, very similar explanation to Quinn's, though you would spot that Quinn is now kind of molded himself into the scenery.
I would look over the room, actively avoiding making any sort of eye contact with Quinn. Like I'd look over him, but like, and probably, given fringe tables, see this table up in the corner, and take a seat there.
Okay. Very similar interaction, though the one noticeable difference is that you probably get less eyes than Quinn does, being a dwarf just dressed in navy attire. You are not alone in that appearance, as you find yourself here and eventually sit yourself down at a table. So yes, you would just kind of blend in as the general process of things go. The dwarf that is sitting there is again kind of doing almost the same thing of passing the time, waiting for someone to play with, as you do then sit down, and for whatever reason, perhaps it's the game of the day, he would also suggest main mast, which you would be familiar with.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
Yeah, I have no problem with that.
All right. And then Svenjamin, oh no, I was doing so good. Shit.
Just
Primarch.
Twist the knife.
Oh, fuck. Anyway, Primarch, you'd be the next one, I suppose.
Yeah, and Primarch is working himself up. Like, it is just for a little bit. It's fine. And as he, the arrogance of him can't really just be shed like a cloak, but he stomps in, full breast out and squared shoulders, looking down at the dwarf behind the desk. He would just call out, word around is this place may have something for entertainment and satisfaction.
If that's a odd way of asking if there is gambling here, then yes, sir, there, you have heard correctly. May I ask your name, sir?
There are those who call me Mark.
All right, Mark. How much money are you coming in with today, Master Mark?
15 gold.
May I ask your business here today, sir?
As I said, I seek entertainment and satisfaction.
Well, I imagine you understand that we don't allow any sort of weaponry or armament in our establishment to keep our patrons feeling comfortable. If you would be so inclined to remove those.
And he'll shrug and detach the halberd and lay it across the desk. And This is blessed in the molten water of the great mount itself. Be careful.
Always am. Mark, Master Mark, kind of sets it down to the side suspiciously, and well, I must also ask you're not here in any sort of bounty business.
I am not some lowly bounty hunter.
All right, Bo. Bo would coming over and start frisking you. You'd even have to like pull a little stool up to get to the proper height of checking over your shoulders and whatnot. But
Primarch would make as direct eye contact as he could with Bo for the entire process. Just that direct stare.
give me a intimidation check.
Oh, I do not love these dice. That's gonna be an 11.
Bo is certainly off-put by your appearance and also the disparity in size for sure. But Bo is he's seen some shit. As you stare down into his eyes and you try, like, not even trying to impart this like dominance over him, but just meeting his gaze, he looks back up at you and there's just this like brokenness of a man that has been reforged with this just, okay, yeah, fucking kill me or burn me to death, I don't care. And he keeps like frisking you, doing his duty, and then eventually lets you pass, goes back to his seat, allowing you into the room proper.
Did they serve drinks in there? Sort of.
I guess you could ask.
No one's asked.
Yeah.
Well, I just okay. So looking around at all these various dwarves,
Do you enter?
do any of? Yeah. He'll,
Okay, yeah.
he'll
Mhm.
clomp in and look for a serving lad, I guess. Just kind of ignoring the tables themselves.
As you step in, unlike your first two companions, you draw a lot of eyes almost instantly, whether it's because you look like an easy mark, or you're a dragon kind, or your attire, whatever reason, whatever many reasons there might be for someone to look over at you, you gather almost everybody's attention, but you specifically get the attention of the man far across the room, kind of sat in the somewhat lowered portion. As he kind of perks up, spies you, clearly a mixture of kind of excitement and curiosity in his gaze. He's like, well, damn. Come here! And he would wave over to you.
Brainerd's gonna kind of mutter under his breath to the guy at the table and was like, I'm sure that's not gonna cause any trouble.
Ah, trouble for him. Shrimp got him.
Just looking around the room at everyone. Slight glare of his eyes. And then he'll go ahead and stomp off over to the corner.
So
and who might you be?
As you approach the table, which is clearly, it's like a, what do you call it? Like a receded table that's like specifically built for doing various like dice activities on. He's already like leaning over it as you approach and, you know, get near one of the stools, offering up a hand. He's like, ah, you call me Shrimp. What's your name?
You may call me Mark. And Primarch will actually stick his hand out for a good hearty handshake.
Right. So as Shrimp and Mark clasp hands, shake them, and greet one another, we'll take our 10-minute break there. So I guess the understanding is that Brandon and Quinn, you are going about your surface level gambling while all this is occurring, or are you changing your tactics after seeing Primarch come in?
I was just trying to maintain. I don't want to lose any money, and I'm not really trying to win any money either.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and I will absolutely cheat in order to keep that happening.
I won't cheat, but mainly because I don't think I could successfully. But yeah, my intention was more to just casually chat with whoever I'm playing with, hoping to get just any surface information they have about this establishment, not jumping straight into it like, hey, Butcher's Den, that's a weird name.
Where are the drugs going?
But like starting with, the typical, hey, let's establish trust. So it would be like, hey, new in town, working for this adventuring guild, blah, blah, blah. Trying to find places so yeah.
Go ahead and
Establish
roll me,
rapport.
Yeah, like a straight 1d20 brand new, and then Quinn, roll me 2 1d20s.
15.
11 and 20.
Okay. So both of you, through your various means, one of you more... What's what we're looking for? Unhonest as possible. Keep your money in your pocket, not losing or gaining in any significant way, just kind of exchanging the currency as you go about your business. But yes, Primarch, you would find yourself kind of in that lowered area of the room across from the man you assume is called Shrimp Pops, as he introduces himself as Shrimp, shakes your hand and then sits back down, looks you up and down. You wouldn't happen to be a relative of our great Captain Kirith, would you?
In the most general of terms, yes. We do hail from the same clan, though different families.
Well, what brings you here today, sir? You don't seem the type.
This being the third time I've been asked, I seek entertainment and satisfaction.
Do you often seek this through gambling, Master Mark?
Mine is a life of glory that leads to many different places.
Well, I will be upfront. We're all out of glory here, but we have plenty of gold, so...
And reaching in and pulling out 10 gold, he'll just spread it across the counter. If only gold, then so be it.
Ah, good. I was worried you didn't have enough for the ante.
Well, and plastering a smile on his not very often smiling face, then let us start.
He would kind of gesture for you to take your seat, and he would start doling out his own coinage. I guess he would match your 10 gold as the first round of bets, putting out his little stack. And as he's already beginning, setting up the process of main mass, he would be speaking throughout, clearly very in his element. Well, if you're not directly related to our great Captain Kirith, then perhaps you were related to the other dragon kind that we lost so dearly, I suppose.
And all mirth dropping from his face. Wear your words carefully. Yes, I was.
Ah. My condolences, Master Mark. I do not mean anything by it. I simply am rather nosy. But covering up grief with betting is something I'm very familiar with. But covering up grief with alcohol is much more effective. Should I get you a drink?
That would satisfy me greatly.
All right. Bow! And then you would hear a little grumble. But at this point, he would begin to set up main mast. Do you want to attempt a round of that, sir?
Yeah, he can't be his normal docile self. He does have to at least attempt it.
So the house dice are 3, 3, and 5. So those are the public cards or dice facing up. So go ahead and roll 1 6-sided dice, sir, and that would be your first card.
A 4.
Okay, so that doesn't really give you anything, but you obviously that's your secret card that you have, and you can either bet or pass or fold or whatever you want to do.
Almost disinterestedly. I don't think that was correct, but I'll just wave a hand across and yes, for yourself.
We'll pass for now. We'll see what the next dice brings, shall we?
And then I roll and a shrug. I'll pull out one more gold coin. I suppose I raise you 1.
I'll see your 1, and he puts down the 1 gold piece.
And I guess flipping up his cup.
Yeah, or raising your hand, however you want to obscure it.
He would reveal 2 4s on his dice.
Holy shit. I don't know what the odds of that are, but we both just rolled 2 4s. So we have a pair of matching pairs. Because it's 2 3s and 2 4s. That is insane. So as you lift up your hand, you'd see like a beaming smile crossing his features. He's like, I knew there was something special about you. God damn. And he lifts up his hand and you would see the exact matching dice. He's like, I haven't tied with someone in, well, months. This auspicious occasion, I think is what they call it. I'll let you have the hand. It seems like you've entertained me enough.
Quite generous of you, sir. And he'll go ahead and scrape
So that would be an extra 11 gold for what you had before.
Nearly doubled your money.
How often does that happen? And has Bo come back with the drinks?
Yeah, so at this point, Bo would set down 2 wine glasses, and Shrimp would kind of nod like, I assume you're a wine man. You dragonkind tend to enjoy the finer things in life.
I do my best not to overindulge, but...
Well, you're in the
thank
wrong
you.
place then, sir.
And after taking a hearty sip, and I expected worse, I'm genuinely impressed.
Well, I have to impress myself, so we have to keep at least something above mediocre around here.
You know, as enjoyable as the dice are, I do find myself seeking something with a little more bite. Would you know
Is that the
any-
joke? You know that.
And showing his teeth with that smile. I simply prefer something with more hands-on stakes. Do you know of anywhere around?
Is this a fetish we're talking about?
No, I wish to fight.
Yeah, I should have probably put that one together. I mean, there certainly are fighting rings I could point you towards, or there's plenty of dwarfs outside that you could just insult their fathers and go around or two. But certainly not here. We don't fight here.
No, by your wine I can see you're much more refined.
Or perhaps you could become an adventurer. They fight things all the time, and appears one of them has stumbled in here somewhat recently.
You seem to like gold and gambling.
What gave it away?
I have some insight on people, if you will. As a gambling man, do you ever gamble on fights?
I don't like gambling on others. I like to rely on myself.
Well, other than gambling on yourself, what news of the town? And he just starts striking up, I guess, small talk.
He would offer you another hand to, as he puts it, win back his ill-lost gains.
Yeah.
You want to
Not a
go
lot
for
to
it?
go around. This goes.
We'll do a 10 gold ante, because that seems to be the established, Okay. It is a 1, a 5, and a 5. And we'll let him go first this time. He'd raise you 10. Which, if you don't have, would just be all in, I suppose. Well, no, you should.
Well, no, I've got the 10. No retreat, no surrender. Yeah, he'll slide another row of 10 across.
Daring, very good. We'll keep it there. I'll be a good sport.
He'll reveal a 4 and a 2.
Okay, he has, he can pair off with the 1, so he has 2 of his pair. Double 1s, double 5s. So he would slide back his money and tuck it back in. Well, we'll keep the gambling to a minimum for now, but perhaps we'll indulge later after we've dulled some of your senses with wine.
I'll take the distraction.
So he would begin small talking with you and kind of going back and forth. It's very clear even to Primarch, who's probably not the most socially aware of various manipulation tactics, that he is slowly prying and poking at various different things, asking about who you are and what you do and why you're here and who you're connected to, and just gathering kind of whatever fringe information he can as the conversation continues.
Then the bulk of that conversation would be about the glory of Nosaruk. Just once he starts prying into just be this tirade of proselytizing the glory of the golden scale.
So Quinn and Braynoon, as this continues, and I imagine Quinn, you're very aware of it. It's going on in front of you, and Braynoon, you're more or less aware, maybe missing some of the finer details or smaller words, but what would you two be doing?
I want to know who's watching them. Like, who's watching Popcorn Shrimp, who's watching their game.
There is a patron sat on this long purple velvety couch across the table from him that isn't actively doing anything. He's currently kind of semi-perusing a book, which appears to be some sort of fictional novel, if you're interested. But he would just, read his book a little bit, look back up at the table, read the book a little bit, and it's clear that he is keeping an eye and ear out around the general vicinity, but mostly on the table.
Okay. Probably a bodyguard.
He's still just shooting the shit with England.
For the time being, I think I might start trying to win a little bit.
You want to give main mast a shot?
Yeah, why not?
Alrighty. The house dice are 4, 5, and 5. We'll do, what was it, 5 silver piece antes you guys were doing?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I think
And you want to roll your first dice and place the first bet?
552. And I'll put down 15.
Oh, wait, so you rolled a 2?
5, yeah.
Okay. So the house
Those are
dice
my-
are 4 or 5, 5. And you roll 1 dice, and that's your card that you get to add to that.
Oh, right, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Let's start over. 4.
Okay, so that would give you 2 pairs because of the 2 5s already, and then you can pair up with the 4. And then do you bet?
Yeah, 15.
Silver?
Yeah.
Okay. At this point, he's been kind of going back and forth with you a fair bit, and there's a lot of, like, almost like nonchalance, like, even if he does lose, he'll win it back just because, probability. So he's like, oh, okay, and puts the 15 down and keeps going. So, roll another dice.
5.
Ooh, okay. He would lift it up, and he has a pair of 1s to add to the pair of 5s, so not only do you beat the pairs, but I think you also have 3 of a kind, which, would beat the 2 pairs anyway. So, hell yeah. So that would be a gain of 20 silver pieces your way, sir. As, England grumbles a little bit and shoves the coinage over.
And, net 20?
Yeah, because there's 5 silver pieces for the ante, and then you bet 15, which you matched, so you would gain 20. Yeah.
Got it. That's all for now.
Okay. Brandon, are you changing your beat at all?
Only slightly. So I'm still chatting up the guy, just to kind of get any surface information I can.
Mhm.
But I'm attempting. So I'm not paying attention to Primarch and Shrimp, but I am kind of glancing around at the other tables to see how much other people are paying attention to him. Not necessarily in the like I'm a guard, but more the interest of this is a weird situation that garners attention. And so
it's probably safe to say that about half of the people in the room are like actively watching their interaction. Some games have even like stopped to witness what's going on between them. There is clearly a fair amount of interest in the dragonkind itself and Shrimp interacting with them. Even more eyes were kind of confirmed or cemented on him as he called for a drink, and now they're sitting there sharing wine. So there's even just like grumblings you can hear of like, I bet he's a fucking plant. Of course he's a fucking plant. He's a dragonkind. Like, that kind of shit. So.
Okay, but yeah, other than that, I'm just continuing, just keeping kind of a side eye just in case something goes south over there. But
So, Primarch, as you continue to go back and forth with Shrimp, or Pops, or Popcorn Shrimp, as he is now lovingly referred to, eventually he would kind of like lean back in his chair, kind of swirl his wine a little bit, and look you up and down. Well, I do love a great deal of chatter, but how about we make it interesting?
What do you have in mind?
Well, I know that we don't know each other all that well. We're not exactly best pals yet. But what I suggest requires a bit of trust, and trust is usually easily backed up by threats, so I'll keep that in my back pocket just in case. But I enjoy betting on things beyond gold, things that's much more interesting than mere material circular objects. Knowledge. And I bet I know something that you would like to know, and I bet you know something that I would like to know. I may not know what that is yet, but I would like to bet on it.
My people do not break their word easily.
I'm
However,
asking for your words.
We do not step into traps so lightly. I cannot assist you in any way to harm the good people of the city.
I'm offended that you think I have such ill intentions, sir.
However, you've intrigued me.
I have that effect on people.
Then let us have at it. What
We'll
do you
do
have in mind?
Best 2 out of 3, then. No bets. If you fold, you surrender your hand. Deal?
Deal.
Alright. House dice are 6, 6, and 2. I'm rolling so many doubles today.
Jeez.
Alright, it would be your turn to roll first. I guess you're not doing bets, but you can either stay or fold, I guess.
You want them one at a time?
Yeah, just to tell me which dice you get.
Alright, I got a 5 on that first one. Ooh. And a 4 on the second.
Did you say 5 and 4?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, you guys rolled the
You
exact
put a shit ton of 5s. Oh my god, really?
I don't know what the probability of that is, but that must be insane. Anyway, okay. So yeah, you would reveal, it's a good trial run, I suppose. Good warming us up, right? Right. We'll call it even. Okay, this is 4, 5, and 6, which could be a very interesting run. Okay. What do you have, sir?
I suppose I only needed to warm up, revealing another 4 and 5.
Ooh, 2 of a pair though, right?
Yeah, 2 pair.
Okay, he just has a pair of 6s, so you'd win that one. Well, it appears that perhaps maybe you breathe fire, right, you golden ones? All warmed up?
A delightful jest.
Well, you have one over on me, good sir. Let's continue, shall we? A 1, a 2, and a 5.
And he would reveal a pair of 4s.
He had a 3 and a 4. He has an actual straight 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. God damn. He would roll that, and he would not hide his amusement as he pulls up his hand and, well, because I'm also getting warmed up, I guess we'll have to test our temperatures after this. Hopefully none of us are coming down with a fever. Next round would be a 1, a 4, and a 4.
Oh my god. And he'd reveal up a 1 and a 2.
Okay, so you have a pair of 1s and a pair of 4s, but he has a pair of 5s and a pair of 4s. So that would secure it for him as he reveals his higher pair, looks over at you, and... Well, now we simply must find what you have for me, sir.
A deal is a deal.
And I hear that you, Dragonkind, are very honor-bound people.
I warned you. Should blood be spilt from what you ask of me, I may be required to seek retribution.
Well, I have an aversion to blood, so you're lucky.
Then tell me, how can I help you?
What would interest me? I don't know much about you, sir, Master Mark. I suppose if I ask you a question, and you answer it truthfully, that's about all I can ask. Sound fair?
Indeed.
Why are you at my table right now? And don't say to enjoy yourself, stave off grief, to enjoy a good drink. Tell me why you're here. In this specific place.
I am at your table because you hailed me as I walked through the door. Why am I here in this gambling den? I seek something.
That something being?
Well, you had me pegged with your initial offer. Information.
Well, what are the chances of that? I love information and have plenty to share.
In truth, I was looking for information on, kind of gesturing to the building, a bit of history of the butcher.
Ah, are you a fan then? Is that it?
Though outside of the law, what was done was truly impressive.
Well, I'll admit that plenty of people say it's bad luck to have a gambling den in a place of such tragedy, but I think walking into a gambling den is bad luck anyway, so to each their own, I suppose, but you can't deny that buying it from auction when no one wants to touch it is the best investment, and it's proven to be quite fruitful.
The clinking of your purse would say that is correct.
Well, perhaps if you're ever interested in real estate, maybe kill a few people in the building first and then lower the property value. Worked for me.
I will keep that in mind.
So, besides being a avid fan of Messidore history, because that certainly seems to be your thing, what other information are you looking for here, Master Mark?
Well, though I myself am somewhat light on my coin, I am connected to those who are not. Often intricate bookkeeping is a way to keep things above the level.
You trying to be subtle, Master Mark?
And glancing around at the folks in the den, there are certain things that should not be revealed to the light of day.
Well, then it's a shame we have so many windows in this place.
How do you keep your books clean?
Well, I run a legitimate business. We keep very accurate accounts of how much money comes in and how much money goes out. I'm sure you'll be asked on your way out. And we report that all to the proper authorities, I assure you. We have our seals and our papers.
Perhaps you could recommend a bookkeeper to me.
Perhaps a bookkeeper that is shrouded in mystery and distant from where we currently stand and has not been seen for quite some time and perhaps was involved in nefarious events surrounding this building. Is that the type of bookkeeper you're looking for?
I look for the best.
Ah, Well, I imagine he's dead, so... Bad luck on your part, I suppose. Perhaps the myth about the building is true.
I'd like to insight that one. His
Okay.
mention of him being dead.
I'm
15?
assuming I can't hear any, but how much of this conversation is Quinn overhearing?
I would say, like, Shrimp isn't making any attempt to obscure the conversation, so I'd say Quinn could hear the whole thing. What was the insight?
Oh, 15.
Okay. As much as you can read someone being as, like, consistently bombastic as Shrimp is being, there doesn't appear to be a difference in his demeanor or his delivery or his speech that, like, tells any sort of lie. It very well just be that he's practiced at it, or he simply is telling his best assumption as far as he knows. But I guess the insight would pretty securely confirm for you that he knows what you're getting at and is interested in it. Even just like asking about numbers certainly kind of has his attention. So I guess that would be what you get.
But he does believe the numbers is dead, as far as I can tell.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, a shame then.
Yeah, he was kind of an asshole, so I wouldn't cry about it.
However, good help is often hard to find.
True, but where one man stumbles, others can rise. Can't deny the involvement of his tragedy and my sudden boon.
A toast to you, then. And he'll raise his glass. And...
To numbers!
I don't even know where to go with this.
Primark, why don't you go
Well-
accompany these people in their investigation? Yeah, sure, that sounds fun. Oh, shit.
Well, Master Shrimp Pops, I fear I cannot handle another wager with you as far as my purse is concerned.
Well, I could always pry more information out of you, but I have a feeling you're trying to leave me, sir.
Well, though I am not burdened by greed for gold like many of my kind tend to filter towards, I do need some. I think I shall try to win back some of it for your other patrons.
Well, good luck. None of them are nearly as kind as I am, I assure you.
Then I shall rely on my smile.
Go break hearts.
Thank you for the wine. And he will disinterestedly, just kind of like glancing with disdain across the tables, just make himself up to there,
Okay.
kind of plopping down with a clearing of his throat.
England kind of.
Gentle.
We're playing a game. You want in?
I'll slide it. I don't have silver. I'll slide a gold coin up on the table.
England kind of looks over at you, Queen. He's like, look at this high asshole.
I need a drink.
All right.
Well, and waiting until the dwarf is like busy with his dice, just kind of look at you, Quinn, give scratch on his cheek and a quick, like, couple of winks, like he's... No, not on Shrimp's side, the other side.
Mm-hmm.
And try and do it subtly. I would like to do it as subtly as possible.
Give me a sleight of hand check real quick, just out of curiosity.
I'm just
Yeah,
imagining like a third base coach or something signaling.
Oh, well, now that you've said it, that's a 4.
Do you want to explain what that looks like, Primarch?
So, quite specifically, he goes to kind of scratch at his scales and, like, trying just to use his eye, but he ends up instinctively kind of moving his entire head. I don't know how well that's going to play off, but just a...
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna try to recover the situation by just saying, like, what he was serving go down the wrong way.
Yes.
That's why you don't drink wine. Sticks in the throat.
And just bare him the teeth and... Indeed.
When you drink and then... Does it, like... the alcohol do something?
Perhaps if I were to regurgitate it at the same time.
I feel like that's something I would try.
And he would just ever so slightly, maybe 6 inches to the left, scoot a little bit away from the guy. Do not throw up on my cloak.
So, Quinn, are you going to get a drink at the front of the establishment?
That sounds like a good idea. Yeah.
Okay. Any other intentions beyond that?
I'm trying to figure that out. I really don't know.
This approach is so D&D. I love it.
I tried. I'm so sorry.
I mean, all I could think to do is hang around like a barfly until it seems like Corn Pop is gonna leave, and then shadow him and his bodyguard.
So that's a question I forgot to ask when we came in. There's no other perceivable entrance or exit outside of the one that we came through, correct?
No, there's just the stairs, and I guess you could include the windows as like
Right.
exits. So
Yeah, if somebody wants to leap from the second floor.
Mm-hmm. So, Brayden, are you changing your tune at all?
I mean, probably not. I mean, at this point, do I get the impression the guy I'm playing with is like a regular here, or?
Maybe not like an everyday regular, but like once or twice a month kind of regular. So he's like familiar,
Okay.
but not like intimately so.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, yeah, at this point, I'm not doing anything. I'm continuing to observe, resisting every urge to just walk up and talk to Shrimp.
Mm-hmm. What do you order, Quinn?
Just an ale.
Okay. So as you're back up at the front, and Bo's kind of looking you over, and the man behind the desk is working to acquire your ale for you, he would come back and kind of look you up and down and winning, losing, how's it going?
I'm not really trying to burn it up tonight. Not yet, anyway.
Are you a late bloomer then, Master Brooks?
I like to think so.
Well, some of these dwarves are real hearty. They'll be here all night. Whether or not they're conscious is a whole other thing, but perhaps you can wait for one of them to get a little bit loose with their money.
That's the oldest trick in the book.
Or, you do have enough expendable wealth. You could try the main table. I'm sure our patron would be a welcoming guest, I'm sure.
Yeah, I just bet. He cleaned out the other guy.
Well, can you blame him?
No. But I don't want to be next in line for cleaning.
Give me an insight check.
Not but a 7.
Okay. Okay. As your small interaction with the dwarf continues, you eventually set the ale down between you two so you can take it. Well, good luck and don't get lost in the thread.
Thanks. I take it that's not a saying. Is that a saying? Well,
Quinn's apparently not very insightful right now, so it's difficult to give you much. There is enough there that you catch that it's supposed to be something, but you can't figure out what.
Well, anyway, I don't know why this guy would be... He's not trying to help me. Versus his own boss. Or at least there's no evidence of that at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'll go to Brainion's table.
Okay. So, getting your ale and then shifting over there, leaving Primarch to clumsily deal with England as he begins playing main mass with you.
Yeah.
Because he's gonna need a name. The dwarf that is with Brainerd is now Yorlin. So, you approach with your ale. Brainerd and Yorlin are in the midst of some sort of meandering conversation.
Yeah, I wouldn't even pause the conversation. I just kind of glance at Quinn, give him a nod.
I'm just acting like it's the first time we've ever met.
You, interested in losing money?
I'm not interested in playing with one of those.
You gesturing towards who?
Primarch.
You're like, yeah, he's in the wrong place.
A loud shout of, "For the glory of the ancestors, damn you!"
I haven't seen you two here before. You, new in town? Something?
Well, I pretty much told you that when I sat down.
Oh, yes, but now we're having a group discussion.
Talking about him. Apologies.
It's polite. You ask questions.
No, not new in town. I've been in here once before, but you know how it goes. You live somewhere, you don't actually go to any of the tourist spots.
I used to go to the rat hole, but too many infestations.
So the place with all the murder is a better vibe, huh?
I mean, it's not bad for, I guess, a mass murdering location.
I don't know if I'm gonna come back. No girls.
Girls are distracting when you're betting. They're always trying to get something from you, and they never actually bet anything. They just schleeze off of the other guys.
Well, I guess that's true. Maybe my priorities just aren't right for this place either.
I mean, if you're lonely, I got recommendations.
I like to at least pretend that it's something that I'm doing.
Well, that can be arranged. There's this wonderful tiefling mistress over near the river. Astounding what she'll go through to please her clientele. And not herself. She procures all sorts of... Sorry, we were talking about gambling.
Yeah, maybe next time.
You're young and you're pretty. You'll be fine. I'm gonna go get a drink.
Oh, okay.
Yes, as soon as he's like away. So that was interesting.
What, Primark?
Yeah, that. That's
He was shiny and different, and Shrimp wanted to show off, which he did more or less. By the way, Primark was out of his league.
well, I suspect this isn't Primark's usual establishment. It's
No, right.
from where you're at, do you think he learned anything?
Boiling it all down, Shrimp is pretending, at least, that the official story about numbers is true. He's dead or disappeared. No one's seen or heard from him, and he didn't really like him anyway.
But that means he knows something. Or at least pretends like he knows something.
My thinking was, get him off his home court. The guy on the couch seems to be a bodyguard or a gopher. We could follow them out and twist his arm.
I'm not sure that's the right approach, that arm twisting part, but
Just a suggestion.
I do think we need to have a conversation where there's not quite so many years.
Well, the option is there. Apparently, all you need to go sit down with the boss man is a big enough ante.
Well, I'm lighter than I'd like to be.
It seems as though I brought enough, but I don't want to lose all my money, Braynoon, quite frankly.
Damn you, small bones.
Well, I mean, I suspect you've got better skills on not losing money than I do.
You know how these places are. Can't we just mug him?
What time of day is it right now? Because I'm assuming it's still like mid-afternoon, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, like, probably the latest, it's like 4, 5, if you're pushing it.
That's... From your impression, how willing is he gonna talk with Primarch?
He's prides himself on being an information broker, so he would feed him just enough to string him along. Even if Primarch had won their bet. It was supposed to be answers to questions to the winner. But he's not just gonna lay it all out right here on the table because somebody wins a bet.
We could also end the farce and just ask him all outright.
The direct approach. Yeah, okay. I'm for that.
It's my preferred approach. And at that, Brainium stands up.
And I'll stand up too and go
Okay.
right behind him.
Are you guys approaching the table, I'm assuming?
Yep, I suppose to. Or I
Alright.
suppose so. I'm sure this will go well.
And then, Quinn, you're also moving over there?
Yeah, and I want to keep like one eye on Mr. Purple Couch,
Okay.
Mr.
So
Casting Couch.
As you two get up out of the corner and then, like, clearly are making the direction towards the table, you would see Shrimp kind of recognizing you two moving towards them as a pair and kind of... Welcome, gentlemen. I didn't know that I was expecting company.
Trying to figure out how I would respond to that.
We could begin with names. They call me Shrimp.
Brainoon?
Quinn.
Lovely to meet you both. Are we interested in gambling or something else?
I'm interested in information.
Ah! I love you dwarves. Very direct. Very short.
Sorry, Brainoon doesn't think of things in racial jokes. But I do. So, as this is your establishment, would you prefer us to remain direct or do things your way?
What do you think is my way?
And I'm just going to look down at the table.
That's more of a avenue of greasing the wheels, so to speak.
Well, I'd say the wheels are liberally greased.
Ooh.
What can you tell us about the events that took place here some 20 years back?
Very direct. My man did warn you that we don't allow any sort of warrants or legal work within our establishment, so if you're interested in pursuing anybody, that won't be occurring.
I'm pretty sure that's not how warrants work, but we're not official.
We are not Green Hoods. We are not empowered with any legitimacy of the law. We're just after information and answers.
Well, good and bad. Green Hoods are rather awful gamblers, so. So you're interested in the butchering or numbers or the establishment? Are you fans? We have a fellow fan over there, the gold gentleman.
Yeah, he's with us.
I assumed.
All
Insight.
of the above.
Shall we bring Master Mark back into the fold then?
I imagine it's just uncomfortable losing the rest of his mind.
Yeah, no. I mean, at this point, you'd probably hear it just, "May the thread unravel you, you damned beast."
I got a 19. I want to know, like, he says, I assumed, but that's an easy thing to say after somebody's just
Mm-hmm.
already told you. I feel like that's part of the con.
Is that an insight check as a 19?
Yeah.
You're probably a mixture of both of you are kind of accurate. Like, he had his suspicions, but hadn't pieced it together. So yeah, like, he assumed but wasn't certain about it, basically just due to the fact that 3 distinctly different people that he's never seen before
Showed
enter.
up in a relatively
Yeah.
short time frame. Yeah.
Yeah, so he was guessing, but yeah, now his confirmation, his suspicions are
Right.
confirmed, so.
No. Any information you have on what happened to numbers, what happened to just around the events that took place?
Yes, one moment, sir. Master Mark.
I will come back and get my money. And stomping over in a foul mood. Oh, yes, gentlemen, nice to meet you both.
That's fine. The ruse is over.
Then I lost all of it for nothing.
Don't worry, Master Mark. We'll square you away. We'll make you whole again. But yes, you are inquiring about numbers and everything going on here. Perhaps it's a fair assumption you are interested in the infamous man himself that was never caught and turned into a ghost and disappeared.
You mean the Green Hood?
No, the
Or
butcher.
you're talking about... Okay,
We're talking about numbers.
Names are more helpful than analogies. Thank you very much.
I like to be colorful, otherwise life's boring.
I like
But you're
boring.
very direct. Yes, you dwarves. Okay, alright. I don't know much about numbers. I used to actually work with the man. It's my little claim to fame, I guess you could say. And after he disappeared, I'm assuming he's dead. My assumption, or my best guess, is that the butcher finished his work and everybody's just saying otherwise to help themselves sleep at night. But, yes, numbers left. Opening arised. Shrimp is always grateful for an opening. And, here we are today.
So you worked for numbers.
Yes, well, worked is perhaps a strong term. It's much better with the ladies when you say that you used to work with numbers, and then they're like, oh, numbers. You're like, no, numbers. And they're like, oh, numbers. It's a very interesting interaction. He probably should have thought of a better nickname, but that besides the point. I kicked up to numbers to run my games when I was doing stall work.
I'm kind of looking at Quinn to translate that because I know the words, not it.
So I'll lean in and actually like cover my mouth and whisper that he was a small-time dealer and he would pass along his profits to numbers.
Everybody knows, kind of nod. So you don't know anything about the work that Numbers did for others?
I know a few things here and there, things I picked up when he was alive, things I picked up after his whole spiderweb of bullshit fell apart, you know. People like to talk, people like to speculate, especially in situations such as these. Mark, would you want another cup of wine?
Thank you. Yes.
Bo! Anyway. Numbers was involved with a great deal of people. Big, small, in between, short, tall, in between. It's an easier question to ask who Numbers wasn't involved with. There are certainly some lofty names that you could throw around, and whether or not I can confirm those is a matter we can discuss, but I am assuming that you're not interested in Numbers. Not many people are at this point. He's gone. Whatever knowledge or information or sway he held is probably expired at this point. So, what is your interest in this?
My interest is uncovering the events that led up to the butcher and who was responsible for those events.
Well, I hear it was a Green Hood.
Oh no, we know everything we need to know about who the butcher was. I want to know why the butcher was.
I fear you misunderstand me. I certainly know who Dane is, but I hear that the reason this all began was a Green Hood.
I'm just gonna raise an eyebrow. And
Are you suggesting they betrayed their own?
It's been known to happen.
And who would be so bold as to turn on their fellow?
Well, if I was to know a name of a certain gentleman that might be this mysterious instigator that you're looking for, that would be quite the abundant piece of information to give out freely. Bo sits down his cup of wine, shuffles off. It appears that we are setting up a trade, perhaps a deal, or we could always bet.
I have lost my stomach for gambling.
well, as we previously stated, we have no legal authority here. However, we do intend to report our findings back to the Green Hoods. And, depending on your information, that could influence what sort of information your name and what's connected to it is communicated to them.
Well, if I had fear of the Green Hoods, then that would be quite the threat, I suppose, sir.
But I'm sure you're not a fan of their attention.
No, but the world has a way of balancing itself out. If someone were to throw my head upon the chopping block, then the rabid dogs of the Green Hoods just need a different target to pursue.
Well, as you're the one with the information, that would mean you're the one that sets the terms. So what is it you want?
Well, we find ourselves in quite the jam, gentlemen. I know that I have information that you want, and I can guarantee that you have information that I'd be interested in, but I don't know what information that is yet. But you seem like interesting individuals.
So, a question for a question then.
I feel like
Those are the currency that we're trading with. The ante, so to speak. If you're so keen to gamble.
I'll trade what I know for a question out of each of you. Does that seem fair?
I'm gonna look to the other two.
I just sort of make a face like I smelled something bad.
The information you know, a question from each of us, and one question from us in return. Not one each, just one question.
That seems fair enough.
And I'll look to the other two to see if they have. Frozen camera.
Are you there, Seth, or are you frozen?
I heard him.
Yeah. I think you might have died.
He's frozen.
Well, we'll
I
assume
really like
that...
the timing of these
Yeah.
things. It never fails. It's never like during a break or anything.
Yep.
It's always...
Here's a critical decision.
Is Quinn's response, I guess, confirmation, I suppose?
As much as Cohen's gonna give confirmation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not confirmation.
And then I'll assume that Primarch is going along with it, if not with a little bit of reservation. So as Primarch gives this wonderful confirmation, Shrimp would kind of lean back with a smile and then pull a drawer out from the table they sat behind and pull out a truth stone. Wonderful. All right. And he sets it on the table. I'll be generous, because I enjoy being a gracious host. I'll tell you what I know first, and then we shall deal with the deal afterwards. A name is what I'll give you, and then I'm very confident you can figure out the rest. Because even I don't know everything. But if you go to your friends at the Green Hoods, ask about Eamon Aelholm. If you need me to spell it out, I can do that for you. Well, now, time for my wonderful questions for you all, which will be quite challenging because I don't know who two of you are, but I guess we shall find out. We'll start with the easy one. I already know Mark. Wonderful man that he is. Hold out your hand, sir.
Was he using the Truth Stone when he gave us that name?
No.
I would have pushed him to use it when he gave us that name.
Okay.
Asking him to repeat the information.
If you do that, he would be willing to connect
Okay.
with you and secure it and repeat it, basically.
Perfect.
But as he places the stone in Mark's hand, he kind of sits there and thinks for a moment. What are you currently most afraid of, Mark?
And holding, the stone. It compels the truth, or it just says if I'm lying?
It's basically the zone of truth where, like, you can try and fight it, but they know you would, so then at that point defeats the purpose. And then you can either not speak, but then, again, kind of defeats the purpose. So basically, whatever you say has to be true.
Okay. What does he fear most? That's fairly simple. Dying with no purpose. Failing to ascend. Descending once again into this broken world. There is no greater shame
I thought wine was supposed to cheer you up. But all right. Perhaps we'll stop with that then. And he slowly finger drags the cup of wine away. All right. Well, ooh, off to a good start. Good start. Kind of looks over at Quinn. Hold out your hand. Quinn, you said. Plants it down. What do you want most?
I'm going to take a little liberty here, and also I would assume that the truth stone would work similar to first answer, best answer, right? Like the first thing that comes into your mind is probably the right answer. So Quinn says, to torture you until we are confident you're out of answers.
I did peg you for the torturing type, so. It's quite, I guess the occurrence that there's prime torturing real estate downstairs.
Was still hand on the stone. It wouldn't get us anywhere. Not that we can't get to without all the trouble. And he's the boss right now, so.
Do I frustrate you, dear Quinn?
No, I've just met 100 guys like you, and I'm bored.
You've met 100 men named Shrimp. That's impressive.
I believe that you know what I mean.
I do. Well, looks can be deceiving, and first impressions can be bland at times, so perhaps I shall pique your interest later, but I'll leave you be for now, Quinn.
You really don't need to try to pique my interest. I'm not going to come back. Unless I have to.
Well, I've heard that line before.
Was it on a truth stone every time?
Fair point. But
I'll
truth
take my
can
hand
be
off.
changed. You'd gotta shift the stone over to Brainoon. Alright, dwarf. Be very direct, I'm aware. He'd hold the stone out to you.
Yep.
Man, I wish I would have thought of these beforehand. I didn't think I was gonna be in this position. Why is Primarch sideways?
Because he's sitting at the table. You don't sit sideways at the table. You face the table.
Fair enough, sorry.
Just taking a nap, too much wine.
It distracted me way more than it should have. Anyway, What do you think of Quinn?
I think he is an individual haunted by his past who wishes to do better in life.
Haunted by his past? Quinn, you're holding out on me.
Perhaps you should ask better questions.
Life is trial and error. I imagine you won't give up your haunting past, will you, Quinn?
I fulfilled my end of the bargain.
We could bet.
Oh, thanks.
Ooh, must be some deep cutting shit. Alright, Quinn. Alright. Keep your secrets. For now.
So I believe we have a question for you.
Indeed
I'm
you
gonna
do.
look at Primarch and Quinn. Would either of you like the honor?
No.
You're the boss.
So I will take the truth stone that's still in my hand and hold it to him.
Mhm.
If they had it, what is the one piece of information the Green Hoods could use to bring down your entire organization?
Ah, you dwarves. No, I have very surface level things. Who are you? What are you interested in? What do you think of your companions? I don't think our building inspection is up to code.
He's stalling.
I also don't think a building inspection would bring down your entire organization.
Well, we never got approval to build the loft. And now we're 20 years down the road with construction that was never improved. On a historical site is what they claim it to be, but that's bullshit. It'd be quite the headache.
Brayden, he'll do this all night.
I'm being honest.
I'm not sure the Green Hoods are responsible for building enforcement.
Well, they might not be the one who sets the laws, but they are the hounds that are set upon you.
I want to give him an insight check.
Okay.
Because I know he's telling the truth, but...
And you said he did already provide the name of
Mm-hmm.
potentially the leak in the Green Cloaks.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, he gave us the name of the person that he believes to be responsible. 19.
Okay. You can, obviously, he's telling the truth, but I guess what you can read is that he's kind of using the wordage to skirt around a more deep answer. Somewhat for, keeping himself alive, basically. But yeah, he's not lying or attempting to be directly deceptive, but he's...
Right.
Yeah.
I'll release the hold on the truth stone and let him take it back.
Well, I guess I should get the building inspector down here then, Dwarf, right?
I had no intention of reporting you.
Well, I guess I'll have to take you at your word then. But I think
You
you'll be
have a-
rather pleased with me when you figure out what I have given you.
If not, I'm sure you'll see us again.
Fair enough. Bring more money next time, Mark.
Mm.
I'm going to make my way towards the exit at that point.
Yeah.
All right.
Pleasure to meet you, and all things considered, I had a good afternoon.
I'm always happy to accommodate here at the Butcher's Bet. May I inquire, that badge near the Ember Boars?
I believe we've answered your questions.
This is just friendly conversation at this point.
I'm a member of the League of Obsidian Warriors, working out of the Ember Boar Guild, yes.
So,
If you have anything you need taken care of, feel free to submit a contract, and if we are so inclined, we will be happy to do your job.
very well might. But that does mean that our lovely Mark here lost his brother, and that means that you have lost your companion?
We
As
did.
far as the rumors are to be believed. Well, my condolences, and I hope you're more fruitful in the future.
Good day.
And then you all would depart.
Mm-hmm.
Get
Alright.
my
When I
stuff
get-
back.
When I get my weapons back, I'll just sort of toss Bo's dagger in his lap and be like, "Oh, you dropped that."
As I leave, I'm just gonna to the guy behind the desk. It's like,
Mhm.
understand that collecting weapons is great and all, and then I'll snap my fingers and summon my battle axe. However, you might want to take some arcane precautions in the future.
Oh,
And then I'll
maybe.
just walk out the door.
How much money did you have?
Oh, I broke even. That's
But yeah, Bo would like look down at his dagger and then like look down at his ankle and be like, just slip it back into his sheath. So as you all find yourselves leaving the Butcher's Bet back out into Messidori as a whole, it's probably maybe getting closer to 6 around this time. Evening's just about to really begin. As you find yourself out in the open once more.
I have to take that name back to Shayla.
Once we get some paces away, I groan like I'm letting out a breath I've been holding and say, "Oh, I don't ever want to come back here." So self-satisfied.
And I'll just kind of, well, he was an elf. And just keep walking.
So what is the direction of the party?
I'm
What's
not
the name?
Yeah, the name was Eamon Elhorn. Or something along those lines. Or Elhome, not Horn.
Yeah.
Aymaneilhom.
Yep.
So yeah, I would pose that question to the other two of who we should ask first about who that is.
Well, we either trust the captain or we don't. And if we don't trust the captain, then
I'm more
We've gotta
concerned with
figure-
who's going to give us a straighter end.
I may be mistaken here, but do you not work for an organization?
I mean, we do.
Would
Though-
they?
Technically, the extension I got on the previous agreement was to include Quinn, not the rest of the organization.
also this is kind of an extracurricular activity.
I'm not sure Camus is fond of those.
I see. Then perhaps, Sheila. She seemed amicable. Poor taste in decor, but
I'm also curious to see what happened after we left. If anything happened.
It's good thinking.
Be a quick stop, kind of on the way to the Green Hood HQ.
Alright.
We'll
So-
head there first.
Heading back to
And
the
we
apartment.
show up to find the building on fire.
There's been a massive explosion.
There is no building. Ah!
There is
car
never no
crashed into
Shayla.
the side and
As you return to the business apartments, upstairs apartments, whatever that term is, I should have looked up at the 10-minute break. You also find,
You didn't think we would go back so soon.
you climb up the similar stairs, open the door to the hallway, see the dwarf down the hall, and here to visit.
Hey,
Shayla.
Shayla, down the hall.
Uh,
You said it was
Number
door
3,
right there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Knock loud, she's hard of hearing.
Didn't seem so last time, but thank you. And I'll walk down and knock normally again.
Again, because the normal amount of time would pass as you knock and wait, hear the shuffling and then the pause and trying to suss out what's about to happen. The door would crack open, and you'd see the familiar face of Sheila, and then you would see her kind of look you up and down and... Yes? And then kind of look at the other two and look a little suspicious.
My apologies for disrupting your day again.
Again?
So glad we made this visit. Hey, we were here earlier in the day. Braynoon, Quinn, Primarch.
I think you're mistaken.
I'm gonna go ahead and do a small chant and sense, or divine sense it.
Mm-hmm.
Am I getting any fiend or undead?
Remind me specifically what divine sense allows you to see.
Detect good or evil, sense anything affected by the hollow spell, or know the location of any celestial, fiend, or undead within 60 feet that is not behind total cover.
One moment.
Man, it would be great to have our wizard right now.
Sven, as you are fucking
No.
God Christ McGee shit.
As you turn in your grave.
Shit!
He doesn't have a grave, he was cremated.
Oh,
Primarch.
as you drift upon the
Yeah. As you are watching Braynoon and Shayla converse, you reach out for your divine gift once more. And as you're looking past, like again, like the small crack in the door that just kind of opened up so far, you're looking down the hallway that you have been down previously, that like leads into your actual apartment. And you see what looks like a trail, almost maybe like a slime or like a snail trail, I suppose, like across the ground that is giving off this distinctly, almost kind of like vibrantly maroony red tinge that I guess you would understand as being a response of evil to your divine sense, some sort of evil lingering presence or essence of something that has been.
eyes growing wide. He would immediately just bark out, "There is evil afoot. Something in the apartment."
There's no evil in my apartment. I don't know who you are, but I don't enjoy being harassed.
Can I reach over Braynoon and just try and...
I mean, I'm less than 5 foot tall, it's not that hard.
Well, I don't want to be rude. Just kind of push in.
The door?
Yeah.
I would actually, if I see that's your intention, I would hold you back. My apologies. Apparently we're mistaken. We must have been given the wrong apartment.
Yes. Good evening.
Apologies
Right.
for interrupting your evening.
There was something in there.
I'm gonna wait for the door to close.
Yeah, she'd close the door.
I suspect whatever was in there shortly after we left the first. If you'll recall, what she told us previously was that those individuals that Dane was questioning during his actions had no memory of numbers. Whoever was afoot then is still afoot now.
But who would have sent something after her? The only one who knew we were going to go meet with her was Captain Kira.
Unless she is watched. Which she had her own suspicions of while we were meeting with her. Perhaps this isn't the best place to have this conversation. I'm gonna walk. This could continue. I'm gonna walk back towards the dwarf that was there, and I want to. I'm not gonna talk with him. Just kind of an in passing. Perhaps she's of harder of hearing than I thought. No answer. Seemed a little confused. Elves in their old age. Have a good day. And I want to see if there is any sign of recognition more than just, oh, hey, you just walked past.
Yeah, roll me insight.
That is a 19 plus 4, 23.
Given that, like, probably his general purpose in life every day is, like, sitting there greeting people, you do get that kind of, like, generic, like, yeah, okay, yep, but, like, it's clear that in this interaction, there is no depth of, like, him recognizing you from a previous interaction. Whether that's magical or he's just shit at his job, hard to tell, but that would be what you get.
Yeah, other than that, I'm, like, not running from this place, but getting as far away, like, heading towards Green Hood HQ.
As we're walking, I'd say, if this were a contract, you think it'd be bronze?
Nah, I'm thinking we'd probably at least steel, maybe a bit higher. But we haven't had much regard for that anyway, so...
Is this normal for your contracts?
I'm not sure there is a normal for our contracts.
Not yet, anyway. We haven't established a pattern.
I see.
So yeah, like, again, not running, but taking the most direct route back as I can to...
So, yeah, it doesn't take long, probably less than an hour to cross over Old Town and get over to the HQ. I'm assuming you get to the front desk and ask to see Kirith?
Oh, I don't even ask.
Okay, just go.
It's just... I'm just like, is Kirith available? Now, not even, is Kirith in his office?
You would get, like, the beginning of a nod before you're, like, already past, yeah. Okay. So as you move through the building and up to the tower to where his office is, the door is actually closed at this point.
Okay, I would knock at the door. I wouldn't just barge in. I'm not that much of a dick.
Yeah. As you knock, you'd hear like yes, one moment, and a few moments would pass, and then, all right, yes, who is it?
Braynoon.
Come in.
And I would go in.
The chairs have been removed.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Same thing, making sure everyone's in, close the door. Before I begin, how secure is your office?
Don't know if that's a good or a bad sign. Perhaps we should take this elsewhere.
I believe the guild house is mostly vacant, unless you have another place in mind.
Well, it is past time that I do your weekly threat assessment.
Our doors are open to you.
Well, I shall accompany you back to your establishment then. And he swiftly gets up from his chair and grabs his cloak and starts placing it on and would follow you.
As he's getting ready, just because I got this gut feeling, Primarch's going to go ahead and give one more divine sense.
The whole room. As you reach out, it does appear that, for better or for worse, there's no trace of anything that you catch in his office.
Okay.
Let me,
so the threat assessment, is a high score good or bad?
we grade you on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being most dangerous, 5 being least, so for what it's worth.
Where have we been ranking?
Do you really want to know that answer?
More at the moment, I'd like to talk about something else. Distract myself.
One moment, let me, Thomas.
We need something to talk about while we're walking.
Yeah. One moment. I'm just moving people around. Ava's not here. And then... So not ready for you guys to bring home a guest?
Wow, we got 2 whole bridges to cross.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be like an hour. All sorts of small talk happen.
What am I missing? Oh, I'm not missing anyone. I keep thinking there should be another person, but I'm thinking of Thomas. He's not here. But all right. As you're walking, making your way, and of course not trying to talk about anything, I guess, quote unquote, incriminating, potentially, he would go with the small talks. Like, well, currently you're at a 4.5, so I don't know if you take that with pride or shame.
I kind of want it to be higher, honestly.
Well, you did get up to a 4 after your, debacle with the tomb.
So it's not so much how much of a threat we pose to other things, just how much of a threat we pose to Messidore.
Well, that is my job, is protecting Messidore, so... Yes.
I'm fine with a 4.5 then.
I'm sure you're quite efficient in the field.
Not quite sure we're efficient yet, but...
So, unless it will drive you all absolutely insane, is this a good place to end the session, or do you want to get that Kirith conversation in?
I mean, I was waiting for the stinger anyway.
Right, yeah, I mean,
Okay.
that's... Like,
We
I
get
feel
into the
like I'm
office
gonna
and
be...
he's like, who are you? Dun, dun, dun.
Oh, I've already got that question prepped, but
Mhm.
this... If we break here, that gives me the chance to kind of prep what
Okay.
I intend to...
So yes, as you guys make your way back to the guild hall, as you get through the doors and prepare for whatever is to come, that is where we will end today's session.